All right. What up? So, why does God let bad things happen? This is a question that I've dealt with, that a lot of people dealt with, and it's something that I've been asked a lot. Especially, I do Twitch streams on the side and stuff. You've never seen me before, but I felt the need to make this video, not because I'm a know-it-all. I'm not a theologian. I'm not special in any way, but I think. And I think a lot. And I feel like through that thinking, I come to understand how things work as systems and not as individualistic parts. You get what I'm saying? All right. A little bit about me before we start. I'm Greco Weston. I'm biracial. I was in the Army for about 5 years. I do have a college degree. I was a foster kid, so growing up, I got a good glimpse into the world as a whole. I saw a lot of different cultures. I also went overseas. I saw different cultures overseas. Um, and the reason I'm making this video is because, like I said, I feel like I have the ability to zoom out from things, from being an outsider my entire life. Not in a bad way, like a weirdo, but you know what I'm saying? Like you understand things from a different point of view. And I feel like I've been called to explain those things from my different point of view. So let's do that. So let's get a couple things out of the way. I do believe in God. I believe in the universe, and I came to this understanding through science, right? Mainly, sure, the fine tuning argument, sure, Copenhagen's interpretation, spooky action at a distance, stuff like that. But at the end, of the day, I do believe in a God, right? And I don't know that every religion is right. I myself personally believe Christianity is the correct religion. And that's because of all the historical documents that are came with it. Like there's more historical documents regarding Jesus Christ than Caesar, stuff like that. Again, you can look up anything that I'm saying. I'm not going to sit here and link everything. That's for you to do. But for God to be truly all powerful, and this is where a lot of people get hung up on, for God to truly be all powerful, God cannot be all good. And this is something that really rubs a lot of people wrong, because if you go to most churches, you go to most things, it's everything God does is good. No, if you read the Bible and you actually read it, God has done a lot of bad things to bring about good. And that is basically the crux of the argument, right? To be all powerful, you cannot do all good. To be omnipotent, you cannot do all good, because then you would be locked in a stasis of only being able to do good things. That means that what's necessary to happen could not be done. You get what I'm saying? All right. So before we get into me showing the zoom in and zoom out effect of why God lets bad things happen, first we have to understand the universe as a whole, right? We live in a universe that seemingly is constructed. And when I say constructed, I mean there's patterns that replicate themselves, from veins all the way to lightning, all the way to galaxy clusters, to nebulas and everything in between, and we, especially in newer times, have found out things about quantum mechanics that 100 years ago or longer, like I said, I'm not fucking Einstein, or longer, would have been considered magic, right? Would have been considered sci-fi. So you have things like quantum entanglement, where a particle, irregardless of the space between the matching pair of that particle, can be connected, right? So I could have a particle on the far left edge of the universe and a particle on the far right edge of the universe. And irregardless of that distance, if one of those particles is affected, the other particle will be affected as well, right? So there's an invisible force that connects everything in our reality together. And at one point, all of us were the matter that was compressed into the Big Bang, right? Whether or not you believe the Big Bang or the quantum foam theory, where everything arises from the quantum foam, irregardless, matter all at one point was connected to each other, right? Then you have matter and the antimatter annihilation. Anyways, okay, like I said, that shows that there's something underlying our reality that works in ways that we don't understand, that we're connected to things that we don't understand still. And that's all we can really say, right? Um, and I'll show you why this is important. So this is important because in all of our hubris, in all of our thinking that humans are the top of the food chain, are this end all be all, what we experience in reality, in truth, is only about 3% of what's actually happening, right? So even in this chart, you can see that what we can see is such a small fragment of what reality is. And why this ties into quantum mechanics and quantum entanglement, especially as I used an example before, is to point out and illustrate that there's a lot more going on than we think. There's a lot more going on around us than we can understand. There's a lot more going on in the universe, not just on our planet as a whole, that is working towards some type of something, organization. People call it entropy, stuff like that, where there's more moving parts. You get what I'm saying? So if we're a cog in a watch, we're the smallest cog in that watch. We don't understand what the bigger gears are doing. All we know is that we need to keep turning. All right, so now we get into the zoom in, zoom out. Also, if you notice that this is my dog, he like to sit in my lap while I record. So if you see his little nose pop up from time to time, that's just him. All right. So I was thinking about this the other night when I was thinking about making the video, and how I can explain it basically in a pool type of way, right? So say that you're solids, but instead of hitting the solid ball right here, you hit the stripe ball, right? Forgive my drawing. I'm horrible. I'm horrible. Matter of fact, let's make it a little bit better. And I'm not cutting it from the video. I don't care. I can't make it. I'm left-handed. I'm drawing with my right hand. Don't judge me. All right. So basically, let's say that you're solids. And just from this image alone right here, you decide to hit stripes. Now, zoomed in on this image, this would be considered a bad shot, right? Bad shot. No, 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 no. Why are you hitting stripes? Or, yeah, why are you hitting stripes when you solid? Doesn't make sense, right? But if we zoom out, right? If we zoom out, and even if we go here, right? So let's say you hit that ball, it comes through here. You hit it at just the right angle, probably like right here, and you hit into this stripe, then it would still be considered a bad action, right? It would still be considered a bad action. But what we can't see as humans is all the other balls around, right? So we only see one bad action, right? Unbeknownst to us, we see this for what it is, right? We get the little 3% glimpse that we get into reality, and we see somebody hitting the motherfucking pool stick into the stripes when you're solid. What you doing, my boy? Right? You get what I'm saying? But what we can't see is that by using these bad decisions, by hitting that ball into this ball off the corner, we can turn a bad decision into a good one for us. You get what I'm saying? And this is how it works, right? So you had a series of bad decisions. Oh my God. I can't draw. You had a series of bad decisions that ultimately led to a good outcome, right? So, and we can see this in history. We can see this in history. I could even do this with other things, right? So if we go back and we say something like, as bad as this sounds, right? As bad as this sounds, we start here. We start with World War II Germany, right? You got World War II Germany. Then you keep going. Again, check. I'm left-handed. I'm drawing with my right hand. Don't judge me. So, oh my God, that arrow is horrible. So basically, what I'm trying to say here, we start with World War II Germany, right? Then we move on. We have, right, the imprisonment, or we can start with Kristallnacht, right, which is the Night of Broken Glass. We can start with the first instances of Germany being anti-Semitic, right? We can start with that. We can even start with something like the Cross of David, right? Being labeled onto everybody's clothes who's a German, right? These are all bad choices. These are bad choices, right? Then you get to the camps. Y'all get what I'm trying to say. I know my writing's horrible. All right. You get to the camps. You get to, I'm just going to say FS for short. Everybody knows what FS is. You can kind of think of it, right? But then we get to freedom. All right. You get to freedom. And then at the end, you get the state of Israel being reclaimed and rebuilt by the Jewish occupants, correct? You get what I'm saying? At the end, we get Israel given back to the Jewish people. So at the moment, at that time, right, I think it's 35 through 45-ish, you have a World War II going on. All you can see is World War II, right? This is all we can see. In that moment, in that time, we don't see how things will unfold through reality, through life. Forgive me for my bad drawings, but through time, right? So you start with the World War II, you get the Kristallnacht, you get the Star of David being put on people. By the way, I got a tattoo too of a Star of David. Anyways, you get to the camps. Even here, we still can't see, right? We can't see. We don't know that the Allies yet are coming to get us out of the camps, to save us, etc. But as we move through time, as we go through the decisions that were bad decisions, that were ultimately evil, we get a good outcome. You get what I'm saying? So a lot of the times when we have a lot of bad things, it ends up being for good reasons. And we can apply this to so many other things, right? You can apply this to pretty much even your own life decisions, right? All right. So that was, I think, a pretty good example of how to explain things that can't be seen in a way that you can see them. Because at the end of the day, human life is short. We only live in 100-year increments in a universe that is billions of years old. What we see now may not be the end all be all and the end point of where we're going. But what I do know is that if there is a beginning, there is an end. Whether it's heat death, whether if it's a big crunch, whether it's a supermassive black hole, whether it's Jesus coming down, there is a reason for existence. There is a purpose to existence, and there is a pattern to existence. Bad things happen. We can't change that. But in all of human history, when bad things have happened, good has always prevailed. No matter what we look at or how we look at it, at the end, as cheesy as it sounds, the best outcome always happens. Fate loves irony, right? And we can't understand in the finite amount of time that we're here the implications of our actions, the orders of magnitude, and the waves that we leave behind. Everybody is not going to be important. Everybody's not going to be good. Everybody is not going to be fulfilled in the way that they wish that they would be. But what needs to happen will, and what will happen always happens. In the end, I think people will have their own stances on it. I think people will rebuke what I'm saying, rebuttal what I'm saying. But at the end of the day, I can't see it in any other way. There is timing to the universe. There's order. There's structure. There is a dance that we do with everything around us, whether or not we realize it or not, funny enough. And I think that as people, we shouldn't grip onto things so hard and say that just because one bad thing happened, it means that something or somebody or even an energy field is here with us, right? We don't understand consciousness. We don't understand quantum mechanics. We don't understand the universe we live in. But what we do understand is that it's weirder than we would have ever thought. And as science catches up to mysticism, it seems that we're more in agreement with each other than we thought before. There's something going on that we can't see, that we can't comprehend, but it's there. And all in all, I think that we're exactly where we should be. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for listening. I want to say that God loves you. Jesus loves you. The universe loves you. And everything will work out how it's supposed to. Do not be too stressed about everything that's coming your way. Don't be too worried about how to live. Just live. You'll walk the path that was meant for you. You'll be exactly where you need to be. And what's yours is yours, and nobody can take that from you. Be blessed.